In case you are just joining us and wondering what the heck Bobby Brown, outfielder for the Brockton Rox, is doing seated beside me in the broadcast booth in the middle of a baseball game, well, he's gotten suspended for the incident last night. Brown getting what seems to be a rather harsh 4-game suspension for wasn't so much apparently the arguing the called third strike, but the subsequent events. Some items were thrown out of the dugout. And I know, Bobby, you said you were surprised at the length of that suspension.
You know, I've never been suspended before, and seen a lot of guys throw stuff on the field and not get suspended. I guess the stuff I threw on the field went a little farther than they would have liked it to go, and obviously me too. Just trying to throw the stuff onto the field and went in the wrong direction.
And we should point out that nothing hit anybody. It just got a little close to them.
Bobby Brown getting a 4-game suspension seemed a bit steep. The previous season, when New Jersey pitcher Aaron Myers threw punches and karate kicks during that brawl with the Rox, he got a 1-game suspension. And earlier in 2003, Quebec players threw some water coolers out of the dugout during a game and did some damage to the walkway behind the dugout at Campanelli Stadium. They got no suspensions. Seemed odd. So the Rox, who were already 1 player short for having exceeded the salary cap, now were without the suspended Brown and without outfielder Nestor Smith, who was out indefinitely after re-injuring his groin. So with only 1 position player on the bench, backup catcher Mike Landry, the Rox would try to salvage the final game of the series in Quebec, knowing full well that a loss might just be the proverbial nail in their coffin.
So Mike Davis on with a single, and the runners now at first and second. Rox trying to rally with 2 outs here in the third. Abner Arroyo coming to the plate. He singled his first time up.
Sometimes 2-out walks lead to runs, and Mike Davis comes up with a single. Abner comes up with a single here. We may have a big inning.
Frank's working from the stretch. His first pitch to Arroyo. He's hit pretty well to right field. Booker going back, looks up, and the yard is not big enough to hold that one. Abner Arroyo with a 3-run homer has staked the Rox to the early lead.
No gloves out there.
Abner Arroyo, 2nd home run of the season, and that was a monster shot. Abner recently showing off the new tattoo that he got on his arm, and asked me recently if I could see that from up in the broadcast booth. I said yeah, and he says, thinks that it makes him feel stronger, and well, if that's the case, more power to him. He sure looks strong on that swing.
Yeah, Larry, he's a terrific kid.
Bases loaded, no outs. Now the 0-2 offering from Stutz. Swing and a miss. He fans Doomgidi on 3 pitches.
Big pitch right there.
The 0-1 offering. Misses outside. Thrown on to first base by Rosario. They do have him at first base. Mel Rosario picks off Pujols, the opposing catcher, off of first base. He is out number 2, and that makes it much easier now for Tony Stutz. Runners at second and third. 0-2 the count to Oropeza. What a throw.
Melvin, he could win a game for you with his glove or his bat.
Or his arm. There's a swing and a miss by Oropeza, and that will do it for the Capitals. So the pickoff was huge by Rosario. Tony Stutz finishes it with a couple of strikeouts.
Well, Stutz would be ejected from the game in the 8th inning after unintentionally hitting a batter with a pitch. Fortunately, that was the only controversy surrounding the umpires in that game. For the most part, the Rox just took matters into their own hands and kept it out of the hands of the umpires, winning by a score of 7-1. Well, despite all the crazy umpire controversies in that series, I personally had a very rewarding experience in Quebec that trip.
Jeanette, I had a good day here in Quebec today, and I'd like to thank the folks at PassionBaseball.com. Gave me a very nice award today. Guy LaChance, the editor of Passion Baseball, contacted me and said they had an award waiting for me up here. We got together today, treated me to a nice lunch. There's a fly ball to right field. Brown has it measured again, reaches up and makes the catch. We're out number 2. He presented me with a very beautiful plaque for being the broadcaster, best broadcaster, it says, in the Northeast League. Very honored and flattered by that award. Again, thank you so much to the folks at PassionBaseball.com. It's a French language website that covers baseball. They do a really wonderful job of it. Very nice day that they treated me to. Nice lunch today at a fine restaurant overlooking a waterfall. Again, said that if you stay at the Hotel du Nord, which is where they put the visiting teams, you might not ever realize that Quebec is such a beautiful city. I got out to see parts of the city that I never expected to see, and really impressed. Very clean city, lots of history. They've done a good job of renovating some of these buildings, which, this is an old city. Last year I went home after, having been up to Quebec. People asked me, what'd you think of Quebec? I said, well, what I saw of it was okay. I'm going to go home this time with a different story, just because of the trip I had today. It's a beautiful place. I would highly recommend people come and visit.
So the Rox said au revoir to Canada and departed Quebec, trailing the first-place Capitals by 3 games with only 13 games to play. Catching them was not impossible, but maybe improbable. However, due to the Northeast League's playoff structure, there was another way for them to make the playoffs. You might call it the back door. North Shore and New Jersey had already qualified by winning their divisions in the first half. If Quebec won the North Division in the second half, they were also in, so there's 3 of your 4 playoff teams. But if New Jersey won the South Division in both halves, which it appeared they might do, the final playoff spot would go to the team with the best overall season record. And right now, Brockton and Elmira were neck and neck for that. So the Rox needed New Jersey to win. Problem was, their next series was in, you got it, New Jersey.
Looking out at the field right now, standing out in front of the Rox dugout with a bat on his left shoulder, watching Marcotte take his warm-up tosses, is Darren Blakely. He's walking back towards the Rox dugout now. Blakely, of course, came over just several days ago from the New Jersey Jackals to the Brockton Rox in a trade. I asked Darren what it felt like coming back to this stadium. He thought it was a little odd, and I said, what are your thoughts right now? And he said, one word, revenge. Could be interesting.
The thing about Marcotte, too, is he seems to be a very emotional pitcher. If we can take advantage and get some guys on base, we get in his head a little bit, I think we're going to take advantage of that.
And now he has to deal with Darren Blakely. Drew a walk in the 3rd inning with the bases loaded to force in a run. Runners on the corners, 2 outs. 6-3. Jackals leading. It's only the top of the 4th inning. The scoreboard operator may be busy tonight. The 1-1 pitch. That one is hit sharply on the ground off the glove of Jack, and nobody's going to get Blakely at first base. Scoring is Daubert, and it is now 6-4. Good speed on the bases for the Rox. Bustos at second, Blakely at first. The 0-1 pitch to Lewis hit pretty well into right center field, and that's going to drop in for an extra base hit. Bustos will score easily. Blakely being waved home. Lewis makes the big turn at second, headed for third, and he will arrive there standing with a 2-run triple. The Rox have battled back to tie this ball game. The Jackals infield is playing in. Ground ball would likely result in a play at the plate. Unless it's sharply hit, it might get through. Here's the 1-2 pitch to Daubert. Swung on ground ball, right side base hit. Rosario will score, and a single by Jake Daubert has put the Rox on top 7-6. Well, that is the one drawback to having a drawn-in infield. And when that ground ball is hit sharply, reaction time is slim and none. And that was the result for Kevin Gryjak over at first base. If he is playing deep, he has a chance to come up with a ball hit like that. But playing in on the grass, forget about it. That ball was past him in a heartbeat. What a night it has been for Kevin Lind in his return to the Brockton Rox. He's been pitching in the Central League, and he seemed to fit right back in with this team. He was a very popular member on the Rox last season. A lot of the guys welcomed him back with open arms, and I tell you what, it is a much stronger Kevin Lynn, a much more confident Kevin Lynn I think we are seeing this time around than last year. Ed Noddle threw him right into the fire in the 5th inning. Joey Baker just was not on his game again tonight and left with the bases loaded in the 5th and no outs. He had hit 2 of the last 3 batters he had faced. So in came Kevin Lynn in a 6-6 ball game. The bases full and no outs, facing Carlos Pagan, Chris Rowan, and Craig Conway, and he retired all 3 without allowing a run to score. Kevin Lynn, welcome back to the Brockton Rox.
The Rox brought in closer Connor Brooks to seal the deal in the 9th inning. The Jackals nearly tied the game, but were robbed of a 2-run homer due to a leaping catch at the wall by Darren Blakely. Yes, he got his revenge. Rox won it 9-7. The Jackals and Rox would split the next 2 games. On the way to the bus for the long ride home, I learned from Jamie Guerrero's umpiring crew that the league had ruled that umpire Todd Shield would not be working any more Rox games, regular season or postseason. Don't know if someone in the league office had listened to our broadcasts or not, but regardless, that was great news for the Rox. It was also announced that if New Jersey were to win the second half and the Rox were to make it as a wild card team, the Rox would open the playoffs against the Jackals. It was a party atmosphere on the bus for the ride home. Nothing had been clinched, but you could feel something in the air. Confidence. Be sure to click the subscribe button to follow my wild and wacky journey with the Brockton Rox because more episodes are on the way. Thanks for watching.